Thank you for joining this webinar. We're absolutely delighted to see so many participants, and we thought it was an opportune time to celebrate International Women's Day, which of course was on the 8th. But the essence of this conversation and discussion with our esteemed panelists is to really capture how the power of networks can really support gender equality empowerment. And we're looking at how, particularly for women's economic empowerment through networking, enables them to achieve a sense of solidarity. So, with lived experiences with your peers, how to develop your career pathways, how to address the well-being that we experience in life, and also the work-life balance. And recently we have been visiting some of our scholar partner institutions, and this has come up quite often. How do you manage that sense of work-life balance as you're developing your careers? I just wanted to contextualize that what we're kind of hoping to hear from your side in terms of the power of networks, because that is what InHive believes. We believe that networks really can contribute to systemic change. And with that, I want to hand over to my colleague, Danita, and introduce the panelists and take this discussion forward. So looking forward to your active participation. And yes, onwards and upwards. Thank you, Danita.
Thank you. Thank you, Kamini. Onwards and upwards. But also just to get a sense, we had a very, very insightful, not insightful, really, exciting, I would say, exciting weekend celebrating the International Women's Day. And I'm curious how we all spend ours. What did you do during the weekend? And perhaps if you could drop me an emoji on the chat on an emoji that describes how you spent your weekend, that would be amazing. It would be nice to know that we don't have robots joining us today. If you're able to drop an emoji, just giving us a sense of what you did during the International Women's Day, how you celebrated the women around you. I can see we have a good number of women here. So nice to know yes, so this is going very well. I can see a smiley face from Doreen. I can imagine it was that good. Kissy face from Vedis. Yeah, okay. Salome, I can see what you did. Some self-care. I can see that. Sefako, okay. Some good loving there. I'm seeing starry eyes. This is when you realize how old you are, because I don't think I'm able to decode some of this. But Hanna, I can see yours. I can see purple. I think that's a good sign. Yes. Who else? Who am I missing? Damilola. Okay, I see that you worked out, Damilola. What a way to celebrate the women around you. I love that you had some, I think a marathon, I would say. Okay, some workout. Allah is saying I saw nice posts on Facebook with nice pictures about the celebration. Very nice. I completely agree, Allah. I think it was really nice to see that celebration will Blandine. I can see some love eyes there. Is that even how you say it, guys? No. I need to update my emoji, I don't know, vocabulary. But thank you so much for your lovely thoughts around the International Women's Day. I just wanted us to go back to why we are here and just linking it with what the beautiful background that Kamini has, has laid for us. So we joined the rest of the world in commemorating this year's International Women's Day, and we thought that this year's celebration would not go down without all of us coming together and to reflect on ways to unlock equal rights, power, and opportunities for all of us. And we think that this year is particularly very special because we want to center the theme of this year's celebration was centered around empowering the next generation of young women and girls as catalysts for lasting change. And I mean, just looking through the room, I think we have the right audience for us. So for InHive, and by extension, of course, Nexus, is that we are celebrating this year's International Women's Day through reflecting on the role that alumni networks can play in advancing gender equality and inclusivity through the alumni through the Mastercard Alumni Scholar Program, pardon me. And to do this, we have a wonderful, wonderful panel. I'm sure most of you have already seen who we have lined up. And I mean, it's just somewhere in Kamini's background. So it's really nice to see that. I think by way of introduction, maybe just to also give you a sense of how we have this conversation planned out, is that we will have 2 sessions, 30 minutes, 30 minutes each, with a Q&A and comment section sort of coming in between after every 30 minutes. In the first panel, we have 3 of our distinguished colleagues who will be sharing their thoughts, responding to our questions, and sharing their reflections really from their experiences and perspectives. After that, we will have a 10 minutes Q&A session, and request that because of the limited time we have, we would request that you take note of the questions or comments that are coming through as the speakers are speaking, as the panelists are speaking. Drop them in the chat box, or just be able to hold off until you're able to finalize the 30 minutes. Okay, so I think after that, hopefully we will be able to finish and close this conversation up with the final reflections from Kamini, who's InHive's CEO, as many of us would know. So we would be happy to hear her final reflections. Wonderful. So our first panel will be reflecting on a question around how they think alumni networks have advanced gender equality, or can advance gender equality, and create safe and supportive spaces for women and underrepresented groups. We have a mixed panel of both scholars, existing scholars, and alumni, and we would be able to hear from their different perspectives of both existing, of their experiences really as scholars, and what they look forward to being alumni of the Mastercard Foundation Scholars Program, but also alumni who have already gone out to the world and doing wonderful, wonderful things that are impacting their communities. So to kick this off, we have Peggy Molefi. Peggy Molefi is a Mastercard Foundation scholar at the University of Western Cape. She's a researcher and policy advocate that specializes in gender, politics, and sustainable development. She's currently pursuing her master's in gender and women's and gender studies, and she mentors and contributes to academic research at the University of Western Cape. She's a recipient of multiple fellowships and dedicated to shaping inclusive policies and amplifying marginalized voices. She is also joined by Pleasure Ngozi Nwoku. Please forgive me if I'm killing your name. But Pleasure is also a Mastercard Foundation alumni scholar. She was with the African Institute of Mathematics Sciences. She's a mathematics researcher with a passion for education, mentorship, and advocacy. She holds a Bachelor of Technology in Mathematics from the Federal University of Technology, Owerri in Nigeria, and a structured Master's in Mathematical Sciences from the African Institute of Mathematical Sciences in Cameroon. Beyond her academic work, she is committed to empowering students through mentorship, mathematics tutoring, helping to education gaps. I think we're getting some interference there. If you're able to mute your mics, would appreciate that. Thank you. All right. So over to, and finally we have Hanna. Hanna is an alumni of USIU, and she currently works with she's dedicated, and she's a dedicated advocate of gender equality, refugee rights, and inclusive leadership with over 19 years of experience. So you can already get a sense that we're going to have a very rich discussions. She currently serves as a protection and GBV project manager with the Coalition for Humanity, where she's leading initiatives to empower marginalized communities, particularly women, refugees, and persons with disabilities. All right. So over to you, wonderful ladies. How do you think, what has been your experiences and reflections really around how you think alumni networks can advance gender equality from both a scholar and alumni perspective? And I would like to throw this over to Peggy to just share reflections from her current. Over to you, Peggy.
Thank you so much for inviting me today. And this is a very wonderful conversation that we're having. And it's something that I am really passionate
Peggy,
about. So I am really honored to be here. I'm going to be, like she mentioned, I am currently a scholar, and most of my opinions here today will be what I hope could happen for the alumni here. And also you would know that the Mastercard Foundation at the University of the Western Cape is very new. I think we're having our first cohort of graduates this year. So there isn't much to really take from. So this would be what I hope would happen. So I'm going to focus on how can alumni networks advance gender equality for scholars. And I would really like to talk about my experience here in the University of the Western Cape. The Mastercard Foundation Scholarship does a very wonderful job of providing us with mentorship sessions and leadership skills where we attend wraparound support programs here. And I think that is very important in building our resumes while we're still here. And I am hoping that this is something we can continue even beyond the university, because we're only here for 2 years. And for me, I'm an international student. When I finish here, I have to pack my bags and go back home. Then what? You see, so that is actually one of my biggest fears, that what happens after the scholarship has ended and the internship. But I am truly hoping that we can create alumni networks in various countries where Mastercard has funded students. I'm still a question, sorry. Has funded students in those respective countries. They can come together, say Botswana, where I am from. We could have an alumni network, Mastercard alumni network, Botswana, right? That will focus specifically on the issues that are in Botswana, because what happens in Botswana is not necessarily what would happen to an alumni that's from Somalia or Uganda. So that is one thing. And I'm also hoping for mentorship even after the scholarship, after school. Yes, we do get mentorship while we're here, but it cannot be the same as when you are now out in the real field. The students here, some of them are undergraduates, and they've never had how do I say it? They've never been exposed to the realities of outside. So I'm hoping that we can mentor them, even create the mentorships within the alumni, that, okay, Peggy, you have a master's. How about you adopt another Mastercard Foundation scholarship recipient, and then you mentor them. And then I'm also hoping for funding. I did my research on the Mastercard Foundation, and I know that it does fund people post their universities. If you're into entrepreneurship, you can apply for funding. Correct me if I'm wrong. So I am hoping that we could have that. I feel like in this day and age, we shouldn't just be training people for employment. We should be training them to be the employers. And I feel like through Mastercard funding after school, we could establish those kind of, yes. And then career development with my last one. I hope I'm on time. Career development. I think funding is good for businesses, but I don't think everybody wants to be a business person like me. I am not very good at convincing people to buy my stuff. So what about me? You see, and I also like that Mastercard doesn't just give us a one size fits all scholarship. It addresses the individual needs of every scholar that is here. So I would love, even past school, for this kind of initiative to continue, that if someone wants to pursue maybe a career in, say, politics, then do they have the right tools? Do they have the right skills? Can they receive the right tools and the right skills from the foundation? That is it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Peggy. Very, very good submissions there. I think you've set a very good tone for this conversation. And if I heard you correctly, you've talked about strengthening in-country alumni associations. You've talked about job market mentorship for scholars, which I think is a very good point. And of course, other alternatives that could potentially exist to strengthen alumni networks. But perhaps over to Pleasure. Pleasure graduated from Ames, I think, a couple of years back. I don't know what your thoughts are. I think you've been out in the world or out in the wild, however you'd want to see that, and perhaps maybe share some experiences around how alumni networks could be used to advance, basing off your experiences as a Mastercard alumni scholar.
Okay,
Over
thank
to
you very
Pleasure.
much, Donita, for the audience. I'm grateful for this exercise. Although I did not graduate a few years back, I just graduated last year. So it's been just a couple of months. And the first thing I would say is rough out here. Honestly, it is. I would piggyback off what Peggy said about after this, what next? That's a very important question that a lot of us suffer from. I don't, right from my undergraduate days and my time here at Ames, it is a question that everybody asks. After this, what next? And I feel like I'm going to speak as a woman, for us is 10 times harder, not to exaggerate. So I think one thing I would first of all like to thank the Ames alumni. They are really doing their best. They are trying to keep in touch, sending opportunities across to us and all that. But I would like to say I would prefer to have heard about what life was after here from a woman. I would prefer to have that kind of experience coming from a woman, because try as much as we might, a man's experience is not the same as mine. So I think that is something very important the alumni has to do, creating safe spaces for the women and the underrepresented groups to come together and really find answers to these questions. For instance, if I have like a mentor while I was an undergrad, a student, while I was a scholar, from an alumni.
Peggy, did we lose you? Sorry, Pleasure, did we lose you?
Yeah, I think it's
as a woman that I could ask questions. This is what the problem is. This is what I want. That kind of a safe space. I think this webinar is one of the things we need. We need to continually have this conversation. We need to create safe spaces for women to come together and discuss. I believe we achieve more as a community when we come together. So that is one thing I would like the alumni to do, to create this sort of safe spaces for women, to make it possible for us to talk, to teach the other scholars coming up behind us. It will really benefit more the whole community if these spaces are set aside for us as women. I think that's the most important thing. And I think, like I said, these webinars, more trainings, more. As an AIM student, we always celebrated the International Women's Day. We had the Women in Mathematics Day, and those are days that were really nice. Having this kind of things, letting people know that you are not alone. What you're going through, what you're going to go through, people have walked this path before you. So I think those kind of events should be strengthened. And I'm also going to talk about what Peggy said about the mentorship. It's very important. I believe let me use AIMS as an example. If when students coming into AIMS are paired up with previous alumni, like an alumni is maybe given one student, two students to guide them through the process, I believe the scholar experience would be way better. I think time after that would be way better because you have someone you are looking forward to. I believe human beings, we are kind of more visual. It's easier to visualize something when you see someone else has done it. You see someone else is going through it. So I think these two things, like creating those safe spaces and then most especially keeping up with these trainings, with these workshops is very important. And I would also say while we are trying to, as I said, I'm speaking as a woman, while we are trying to train the women, we should also train the men. Also, I think that is very important because we had these experiences where during the International Women's Day, the men were complaining, why are you celebrating the women, this and that? So I think those kind of things, letting them know now, this is why we're celebrating the women. This is why we need this equality. This is why we need this equity. We just don't have to train the women, we have to train the men also. So everybody knows I'm not giving this thing to this person because I just want to give it to them. I have a reason for giving it to them. It's just like with the underrepresented groups. Like there is a reason why I want this group to be present. I want everybody to know that this is why they are supposed to be here. This is what we need to do to get them to where they are supposed to be. So basically, I think training and then creating the safe spaces are some things that the alumni network needs to really do to help women. Thank you.
Thank you, Peg. Thank you, Pleasure. I don't know why I keep calling. I think it's the PP, but thank you, Pleasure. That was a very powerful submission. I think a very good follow-up from what Peggy had initially, shared. And what I picked from you is around creating more spaces like this, where women alumni scholars can come share experiences and empower each other really from, an experiential perspective. But also what I heard from you was on how the program could introduce perhaps an alumni buddy system where alumni are paired with existing scholars. And I think that's a wonderful idea because one of the questions I think we're all asking is how do you, the question on sustainability and continuous engagement with alumni. So I think this is something, this is a very, very good idea on how we could ensure that there's linkage between existing scholars and, alumni who are already out in the world and are trying to navigate what makes sense for them. And of course, the training that you talked about. I think these are really good thoughts that are coming through. And wonder what Hanna would perhaps add to this wonderful list that we already have. What do you think that alumni, as an alumni of USIU, I know they have a fairly robust alumni engagement program. I'm curious to know how you think the alumni, the UCU alumni network or any other network that you can think about can be used to advance gender equality from your perspective.
Thank you so much, Donita. I think because of my network bandwidth, I will just let you see my face and maybe disappear because I'm at a place whereby the internet is kind of. Can you see me?
Not yet. I think the camera, I don't know, cap is still on.
All right, let me see.
There
There I
you
am.
Yes,
Yes.
there you are. There
Thank
you
you. So because of my network bandwidth, I don't know how long it will sustain me.
Okay.
Thank you, Danisha, for this opportunity. My name is Hanna Nyamal, um, an alumnus of the United States International University, Africa. Very mouthful. I recently graduated. I was among the pioneers. That's the first cohort of the Mastercard Foundation Scholars Program at USIU. It was a very humbling call for me to join the Mastercard Foundation as a refugee. At that time, we were around three, and no, we were around six actually. And to my surprise, we were only two girls and five boys. So the representation was very low. However, the number of girls were also very many. So you can see how underrepresented this community was from the start. So graduating, I think the alumni network it actually play a very crucial role in advancing gender equality, and I've seen this our first engagement was with the Building Alumni Community Impact Network. I think that is the one that we are currently familiar with, and it's linked to USIU. And first and foremost, I think what this alumni, since it's very young and it's like the start of it, what it can actually do to foster gender equality, I think key point here is, I think what my colleagues Ngozi and Peggy have discussed about, I would still echo mentoring. Like, I think mentorship is a need for wherever we go, we need to mentor young girls or just the young women and the other underrepresented groups in their careers and also in their education. And just to add is about skill development. I get this is a male dominated industry. And so we need to teach girls or the young women literacy skills that they can use to thrive in this male dominated environment. And also, I'll also echo on advocacy and awareness campaigns whereby this network it can actually be a focal tool to advocate for equal employment for both male and female. So this one it can do by just to advocate for policies and that they can actually promote gender equity in workplaces and also in education. I'm particularly glad and happy for what the Mastercard Foundation is doing in what the Mastercard Foundation is doing in having the female category of it, that female aspect, like young female. So it's like an inclusive way of actually involving the females and that. And then again, maybe we can just to add maybe on funding and like provide like fellowships and scholarship that's particularly target women in the marginalized community. I think these are the few things that I thought maybe I could add in this particular in this particular engagement, and I totally agree with what my colleagues have said, and I would like to see how the conversation will kick off. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anna. I think those are equally powerful reflections you have there, and really good ideas on how to continue bringing on board more women scholars into the program and beyond. And I liked the idea around women-specific funding opportunities that could be introduced to just make sure that beyond what Mastercard's criteria currently looks like, it would be nice to see how we could have specific opportunities for women, right? And that would be one way of getting more women into the program and getting more women, empowering more women really through this program. One other point that you raised that I think aligns very well with everyone, what everyone has submitted, is around mentorship, right? And I think this sounds like a running theme and something that perhaps Mastercard or InHive would potentially look into and support different institutions in developing curriculums or programs that would be more geared towards job market opportunities, but also for scholars, something a bit more tailored to their needs. So this is a running theme, and I think a very good point that needs to be looked into. And of course, your point around skills development, I think really goes without saying how important that would be. I don't know if any of us would want to reflect on the question on inclusivity. I know Pleasure had, initially, raised a few points around creating safe spaces for women, and wonder what you think, what more you think could be done to create safe spaces for women and girls, or women alumni scholars in the program. What else can be done to do that?
Donita, may I say something? Just building on that. I tried to raise my hand, but I haven't been able to do so. Can you hear me? You're on mute. You're on mute.
Yes, Fanny.
Okay.
Please go for it.
Thank you so much to the panelists for their really, really important and insightful words. One thing, and I see we have a lot of alumni steering group members here on the call, which is fantastic, is to really utilize the current existing mechanisms that we've established through the Building Alumni Community Impact Network program. The reason why we wanted to establish an alumni steering group was to really bridge the disconnect and the gap between the institutions and the alumni. So it's a vehicle which can really be used to address issues around safeguarding equality in employment initiatives, activities, and feed into the wider institutional engagement strategies. So ensuring that components of that really speak to gender equality and, with the issues around mentorship. So there's a concerted effort, to formalize almost some of these challenges and solutions that we can provide in a sense, if that makes sense.
A really good point there, Kamini. It's a really good point. All right. I don't know if there are any final thoughts around the question on including marginalized groups. And we're talking about people with disabilities. We're talking about refugees. Is there more that can be done to create safer spaces for them? Respecting their contexts. What more can be done? Right. Oh,
Yes,
patience. See you.
Yes, one thing I would say would be to actually listen to them. I believe, like Kamini said, the Sterling Group being created to bridge the gap between the alumni and the schools. I think nobody knows what a woman with disability goes through more than a woman with disability. Nobody knows what a refugee goes through more than a refugee. So I think the most important thing is to actually listen to them, ask them questions, and rather than assuming we know what they want or what they need. I think we need to create spaces where we actually get feedback from them. How do we help you? What do you think can be done to improve your life? What do you think can be done to improve the people in your region? That kind of feedback, like actually getting down to it and paying attention to them. I think the most important thing is just for us to make them feel like their voices are heard. Once they're to let them advocate for themselves. This is the most important thing. If they can't do that, then we can then build upon this. This is what we need to do. This is what we need to do.
You're muted.
Donita, you're on mute.
Oh, thank you. So sorry for that. Yeah, no, I was just reiterating what the point that Pleasure, talked about the best people to talk about, safer spaces would be the same people who are affected, right? So how do we include marginalized groups into these conversations in meaningful ways to ensure that their voices are, captured and their needs are met when creating most of these things. But Hanna, I'm keen to hear your thoughts on this as well.
Thank you. I totally agree with what Ngozi has said in listening to the first or whoever is in that position. We have to be empathetical about this, and in listening to them, we'll be in a position to actually recognize, be it a refugee. So, in recognizing this unique challenge, will be in a position to actually capacitate them and give them maybe mental health and well-being support. So, putting in yes, mental health inclusivity is to actually do inclusive representation in terms of leadership, have these groups, the marginalized, the disabled, just that specific group or that person that has that specific need, involve them in the leadership, invite them into the leadership table.
Sorry, we can't seem to hear you, Hanna. I think there's your internet is breaking. Can you hear us now?
Decision making and also in the policies making itself. So I think that's way to solve the actual engage that you need well-being and
yes,
hello?
yes, you're back. Yes, you're back on, Hanna.
I'm back on. I don't know where the rain hit me. I don't know where
I
I
think
got
just
lost.
final thoughts, Hanna.
Oh yeah. I was just summarizing that just to echo on what Ngozi said. So she actually said we should listen. So in listening, we'll have that way to recognize each and everyone's unique challenge. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm hearing a lot of listening that needs to go into this. Ngozi, is that an old hand or is that a new hand?
Yes, I want to mention something else. I want to include that we actually have to celebrate the people in this marginalized group, this underrepresented people. We need to find a way to celebrate their achievements and inspire the younger generation. If I don't know that someone has done it before, or if I can't dream about it, then I can't achieve it. So we need to celebrate them. We need to celebrate, we have Dr. Seka for here. She's an amazing woman. So we need to celebrate more women like this. We need to talk loud about their achievements. We need to, she has written a book actually. She has written a book, and a book, I Am Able. This kind of book should be shared and shared and shared. These things, we shouldn't be loud about these women and their achievements. We should be loud about the refugees, what they can accomplish when they make it out. All these things, we should be really loud about it. I think that's an important thing too.
I couldn't agree more with you, Ngozi. It's always a pleasure working with Dr. Sefako, but her reputation precedes her. What she's been able to do, I'm sure she's been an inspiration to many. And the fact that she's written, a book that, highlights her life is just, I think, one of the many things that, people should be reading about. People should be, out there telling the world what she's been able to do. But that's a really good point. So I'm seeing a couple of questions coming in, and just to wrap up this session, I see a question from Samantha. I don't know if Samantha wants to come off mute and perhaps share the question with the panel, or would you want us to read it out?
Okay, thank you, Donita. So I'm from KNUST. I graduated from KNUST in 2022, but I'm originally from Zimbabwe, but I'm still in Ghana. So I do agree with, I think it was Peggy who mentioned about after this, what's next, especially for other students, international students who are not in their countries. It's very hard. It's like we are forgotten in some instances because you go home, you are facing all your struggles on your own, even the mentorship aspect or programs that might come. You do not even have access to them unless if they are online. So how best can we also ensure that international students still have a say in some of the programs being done or still have a way of benefiting from the initiatives that are being implemented at the various former universities that they were at? Or maybe if it's a university student from South Africa and they were in Ghana, they've gone back to South Africa, maybe they could also benefit from other events that are being hosted at partner universities in South Africa. That's one other way of looking at it. But then coming from the KNUST point of view, we do have an alumni network, and one challenge we've faced or that I've noticed personally is that there is low engagement once people have graduated. They are no longer on campus. They no longer have access to the resources they used to have before. They are now struggling to just figure out, okay, what can I do to get the next meal, to get the job that I'm looking for, to get access to scholarships for further study. Like what Ngozi said, it's hard out there. So when you're now trying to introduce something that they don't feel like they directly benefit from, it's really hard to engage them. Or maybe they have this thought or thinking that they don't know that it's going to benefit them. Let me say it that way. They don't have the insight that, okay, this is going to benefit me in the long run. So how best can we ensure that we still are able to engage maybe at least 60% of the alumni that have graduated from the various partner universities, so that we support them post-graduation and they benefit from the Scholars Network or from the Mastercard Foundation events and programs that are implemented in various spheres or various areas. How do we encourage them to continuously stay connected to the network for them to benefit further? Thank you.
Very good question. Very good question there, Samantha. And thanks for coming off mute. I don't know if there's anyone from InHive who would want to give that question a stab. I know there's a lot that is already going on. Not sure if KNUST is part of that group, but is there any immediate reaction from the InHive team?
Thank you so much.
Mwanaisha?
Mute them. Thank you so much, Donita. And in terms of what Samantha has said, that's why we have the Building Alumni Impact at Network program. Because what we are currently doing with the institutions that are having and some of the gaps that they are really doing right now, in order to just understand how best are we able to we are able to support them. And apart from that, we also have the alumni steering group, which it's a peer-to-peer every month they meet, and it's one of the opportunities where the alumni have that peer-to-peer learning, just sharing what's working around alumni engagement, alumni network within their institution. What do they want to learn from those institutions that are doing better, maybe in terms of inclusivity, in terms of alumni engagement, leadership structure, in terms of volunteering. And we've been able to see tremendous impact when it comes to what they really want to achieve, because they are the ones who are taking lead in everything around alumni engagement within their institution. And one of the key things that we are also looking at, how can we provide them a platform whereby they're able to also meet with the institution and discuss issues that aligned with the challenges they are facing, like what Samantha has said, what Ngozi has said. And even within the alumni steering committee, we have inclusivity ambassadors in each of institution whom we believe. Yeah. Yeah, so as I was mentioning earlier, I was saying that actually it's a platform that we are looking forward that the alumni engagement group, the alumni steering group, taking the lead around alumni engagement, and also what Samantha has mentioned, that this the leadership that are in the group are able to do peer-to-peer because they meet on a monthly basis. They already have a plan that each of the university is doing, and also share some of the challenges they are having, and working together in making sure that they are able to support each other in making sure that the alumni engagement strategies, alumni engagement programs and events are very effective. And I think we've done most of the training. So actually what Basin is all about is going with the institution, just having a capacity building with them to understand the gaps that they are having, together also with the alumni, and the feedback that you are collecting now, we come back and look at how good we can support them in terms of making sure that we have a vibrant and robust alumni engagement, be it programs, and how we tracking the positives and the impact that the network is having to the scholars alumni. And we are also looking at, through the alumni steering group, an opportunity whereby they can converge together with the steering committee and discuss issues around alumni engagement, voice their ideas, and also an opportunity for the institutions to just have a chat with to get with the alumni and also the institutions. Yeah, thank you, Donita.
Thank you. Thank you, Mind. I think that was a really, really a good response. So there's a question from Samantha here. I don't know if you're able to respond to this, Mind, on chat, so that we can segue to the next session. Is that okay, Mind?
Pardon?
Are you able to respond to Samantha's question on chat? So that we can segue to the next session? We have a few minutes left, and I would want us to get to the second panel.
Yes. Yes, there is a quota
Okay.
for graduates who were international students from all the institution. And when we look at how the institution, one of the key mandates when it comes to recruitment, and actually when we're thinking about the refugee communities within the institution, they have a percentage that they have to recruit from them. So in each of these institutions, they have a quota for that. And maybe regarding Samantha question, I will challenge. I'm seeing Ngozi is here. I can see Ala, who is the sector, the assistant chair, Solange, and the rest. This is one of the things that we can put it in terms of discussions on how international students that have graduated within this institution, how can they benefit from the network, benefit from the either peer-to-peer, through peer-to-peer learning, or which programs, like a safe spaces whereby they can share what they're going through in the respective country. And I'm sure also Ngozi can share with us, because she is, if I'm not wrong, she's from another country, but she did her program in another country. So those platforms, how can they maximum use of creating those spaces for the international students through the alumni steering group?
All right. Thank you, Mwanaisha. I think this sounds like a really useful conversations to continue having, and encourage us to utilize the chats as well, so that we can get as much information to engage in the existing structures that have already been put in place. But that's a good way to segue into the next panel, where we will try to talk about some strategies that institutions have put in place or have adopted to build inclusive alumni networks that are empowering to marginalized groups. And we're talking about the women, we're talking about refugees, and of course, persons with disabilities. And to do this, we have two wonderful colleagues from Defy Hate Now and another colleague from AIMS. So from Defy Hate Now, we have Marina Modi, who's the program manager at Defy Hate Now. She's a media professional, a researcher, and advocate for social harmony and minority inclusions. She has an MFA in communications and media art and uses storytelling and media strategies to amplify marginalized voices, foster cultural dialogue, and drive social change. Through documentary and filmmaking, Marina uses digital storytelling and advocacy in grassroots organization, media houses, and policymakers to promote inclusion and social justice. So that is Marina. Next, we have Fash Damilola or Damilola Fasoranti, who's an alumni engagement officer with the Mastercard Foundation Scholars Program at AIMS. He has extensive experience in building impactful alumni networks that drive professional growth, leadership, and mentorship. Damilola is passionate about leveraging alumni communities for social change, and he hopes to share his insights on how alumni networks can champion gender equality, inclusivity, and common and economic empowerment. So over to you, Marina. What are some of the strategies that Defy Hate Now is adopting or has adopted to build or to support in building inclusive alumni networks that factor in or that bring on board marginalized groups?
Okay, thank you. It's a pleasure to be a part of this discussion and hearing from the previous presenters and listening to the questions. I'm very happy that now I get to share a part of this right now. There are several strategies, and these actually stem from the circumstances or the situations that are around. Some of them we use them as institutions, some of them we share with other partners whom we work with who may have related activities. Some of these are just a minute. Okay. So I saw some of the points heavily highlighted that is starting with the points of mentorship, but creating the space and being intentional and highlighting, saying clearly this space supports women inclusion and providing the opportunity for the women is a very essential thing to get people included into these processes. And another thing that I think also at the beginning of the interaction with backing is the element of storytelling. People tend to resonate with experiences. People tend to resonate with what somebody has gone through. And if it is something that they relate to, it actually inspires, because it's like giving them a drive or giving them an experience into what they have already gone through. So it helps them to adapt, pick an example, or have something, or even just to strengthen the belief that there is a possibility in progress despite where someone is. Now, the other is in relations to advocacy and allyship. Allyship is a very important thing. When you talk about creating spaces for women and encouraging women, it is not only a task on the women, but then also for the male partners or the individuals who are present to take action and support. Sometimes it's in making the people, making them feel comfortable. And sometimes it is in sharing opportunities where they also get ideas, or they get where they get opportunities, sharing it with their female counterparts. And then having initiatives that promote gender equality within the group is a very essential thing. Resource sharing. And resource sharing, I can say, is something individually I have benefited from. As I sit here, I'm also part of an alumni network of an institution where I graduated from. And the resources are shared with me. Although sometimes I feel like this, because it's in a whole different country, and I think this also relates or tries to go back to the issue highlighted by the international students. Sometimes opportunities are shared. Whoever is sharing, or the people who are sharing them, are sharing from the country where these opportunities are, but may not necessarily apply to me. But it does not stop me from looking at those opportunities. And I remember once in a while, I ask the coordinator, I'm like, are these opportunities open? Or maybe just to highlight, the institution is all the way in the United States. And here I am in South Sudan. So I'm like, at what point, or which of these opportunities can apply to me, who is all the way in South Sudan? How do we coordinate this? So the advantage of it is that the coordinator actually does a great job. They do a great job in trying to find diverse opportunities. Of course, the ones that require physical presence, I may not benefit from those, but there are certain engagements that may require remote connections, maybe short engagements that we basically need to connect online. And so sometimes that works. But I still appreciate, because it makes me feel like I am a part of the community. I graduated years ago, but being able to access this, because it was a program that focused on people with certain skills. It's a small program. It's not actually the entire university doing that. But this program tries to they track all the students that have gone through their system. They have the emails, they check on you, how is your professional life, what are you doing? Sometimes they just lay back, they're not coming out to us, so that they're not overwhelming also with information, but at least every month they share these opportunities. So for anybody who is able, anybody who has the time can check those. So sharing the resources, I find them a very important thing. And being able to respond, or where there are questions and all that, that also I find essential. The essence of peer support groups. There are certain times when the institution may not address or meet the needs of students, or even meet the needs of individuals that are part of the community. But having the connection with peers who are fellows, maybe you're in the same batch, or maybe meeting from events or activities, programs that were organized previously. So forming those connections, talking to peers, hey, how do you handle this? What is your experience with ABC? How is it like? What do you do in such and such a situation, and all that? That I have also found to be super helpful with growing the individuals, but then also keeping people in the community, knowing that at least if I can't find this where I am, at least I have somebody I can reach to that can support the ideas. And the other is providing platforms for things like leadership. It is very essential. I know when it comes to the Women's Month, we try to looking at things from a gendered lens actually adds certain layers to things that would not have been seen before. So if there are opportunities for women to be in part of the leadership, in organizing, and then when we talk of the different categories, or these are people with disabilities, these are refugees. These are all different experiences, and international students, these are all different experiences. So creating these opportunities or having representation at least available does help with helping coordination or even highlighting the issues for advocacy or the issues that need to be addressed in these processes. So I'm not so sure if I'm still within time. I could talk for quite a while.
You have
just to make
you
sure.
have 1 more minute. Yeah, you have 1 more minute, Marina. Yes.
Yeah. So with everything, it's just about intentionality from the institutions, and the responsibility do really come from, so the responsibilities do come, it falls on the shoulders of both the students who are part of the program and also the institution. Unfortunately, with sometimes some of the programs and the initiatives we do, sometimes I fail. This is a point to highlight. I know there are times when I have tried to reach out to people, and then sometimes they don't take up the opportunity, then it is not possible. It's not possible for the connection to remain or to move stronger, even with the mentorship. So keeping track from both the student and the institution side are very, very important aspects. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Very, very good points coming in there, Marina. And I really like the point around responsibility of engaged or active alumni engagement, falls to both students and institutions. And I'm happy we're having this discussion that is sort of two parts of the same coin, and find ways on how we could bridge the gap, but also revive, active engagement between institutions and alumni. But same question to you, Fash. What are some of the strategies that AIMS is currently adopting to advance gender equality?
Thank you very much, Donita, and hello everyone. Good to be here. And I guess my task is harder because I'm the only man on the two panels today. But I hope I'm able to share a few things that will be helpful as well. So, Haynes, we have different strategies that we are put in place. And also to mention, to start with, we are also on this journey of learning about many of these things as an institution. And this is one of the things that really stand us out. We are not rigid in our system. So we're constantly learning, we're constantly growing, and we're constantly engaging in these kind of conversations. That is very important as well. Now, understanding that Haynes, we are mathematical, and from our name, African Institute of Mathematical Sciences, you could guess that we are very driven towards this path. And as you can imagine, based on past precedents, many women and underrepresented populations would usually maybe even struggle, for example, even when people are much younger. Girls would not go to mathematical sciences classes. But what is quite interesting as well with the kind of work that we have done is that, and the different kind of strategies that we have put in place, it has helped more women, more underrepresented populations to actually know that mathematics is not just for men. These industries are not only for men. Women have thrived in these sectors. Women have thrived in these industries, and the place is available for everyone. Now, interestingly, within our programs as well now, there are kind of percentages that we want to meet every year in terms of the number of women that we want to have in our programs, in terms of the number of perhaps people in refugee camps, people that are internet displaced. These are percentages that we now want to have in our programs. And because these things are policy-led, it means that we constantly now need to even push ourselves to ensure that beyond the fact that we're just meeting these targets, we're able to contribute to the world of science and mathematics, and we are not just having only men or just people in a particular countries or particular expertise in that sector. So what are some of those strategies? Now, one of the things that we have done also through the alumni is that we believe that our alumni are our best ambassadors. It is not the teachers, it is not the tutors, it is the alumni. It is the things that we have done through them, or things that they are doing now in their lives, that shows that we have done something good with them. So in our recruitment drive, one of the things we do is to engage alumni. And the way we do our recruitment drive, beyond the fact that we share these opportunities online and with different partners, is also visiting countries where we believe we can directly interface with the potential students that could really come into our programs. And when we go into each of those countries, the alumni in those countries are part of that recruitment drive. Now, if we want to reach more women, it means that we should go with an alumni in that country that's a woman. If we're going to an institution to speak about our programs, and this is the kind of things that we do. If a staff is going for that recruitment drive, it means that it will not just be a male. You also go with with a woman or with mixed genders, so that you're really able to engage the people in those countries or in those conversations, and they can see that, okay, if this woman has been able to go through these mathematical and scientific courses, then I think that it is possible for me as well to be able to go through those programs. So these are some of the things that, even from that recruitment level, we're thinking about when we're engaging with potential students or potential partners that could help us to also reach the right set of people. We need to go with the alumni that have really gone through the same path. We have had alumni who, during their studies, they had a child, just a few months mother, who still was able to go through the program successfully. And because in that program, which normally used to be for people that probably do not have kids, because they're much younger, now that we have this situation, we had to create systems to ensure that this was now possible for her to be able to still be in the program, to still be a mother, and successfully graduated from the program. So, and that's why I said we're also in that learning, we're also in that journey of learning, because as these situations come, it helps us now to know what are the kind of facilities we're supposed to have, what are the kind of structures that we need to put in place, what are the kind of policies that we also need to put in place to be able to help us to do this. Now, it's also important to mention that sometimes it could be because of past precedents or how people look at themselves. It is very likely, and speaking maybe about disability, for example, it is very likely that somebody could have a form of disability that they would not declare, because they might think that based on that disability, they might be disqualified from entering into an institution. But that's not correct, because you can imagine as an institution, we already even have a certain percentage that we need to fill per year, either based on the fact that you're a woman, you're underrepresented, you're from the refugee, or things like that. So it's a recent time now that, also based on this awareness and based on the fact that we put these things even in our recruitment, in our advertisements, to say women are even encouraged to apply. Being a refugee, you are encouraged to apply. You have a form of disability, you are encouraged to apply. So I think this awareness is also very important as well. And this is also one of the reasons why we're also now talking to other partners that work, for example, specifically with the refugee. Because again, it means that they are in contact with the refugees, they know the challenges they have. They are able to share with us, okay, maybe in our application, there's something we put there that makes it difficult maybe for someone that is blind to be able to apply. So this learning and these partnerships help us, even though this is not like our core area, maybe we don't understand everything about, the life of a refugee or the life of a woman. But because now we have staff members who are women, because now we have a department of gender and inclusion, now we have an office of alumni, now we have alumni who are women, now we have alumni who have a form of disability, now we have alumni who were refugee, before they came, and maybe they're still refugee even when they graduated. It gives us more opportunity to leverage on these people who, despite the challenges they have or the different realities in their lives, they were able to go through these programs, and now we can learn from them directly. And now they can also show us the things that maybe were lapses that we did not know, and how we can make that better, and how we can, we can fix that for the future generation. And this is where alumni is very critical. And maybe I can mention something, that the only set of people that never graduate is alumni. People even leave their marriages. People say they are denouncing their nationality. As an alumni, you cannot graduate from it. Yeah, even if you tear your certificate, you're really still an alumni. Okay. So it's a critical bunch, it's a critical network that if we understood the power that is in there, we would leverage it differently. And I think there was a question, in the chat where somebody was asking, how do we engage alumni after they've left? It's like they don't want to engage. I think it's also important, and this is one of the strategies now that we want to implement at Hames, is how do we personalize the journey of an alumni? Because every individual who is an alumni has a different journey. Yes, they could have graduated from the same cohort, they could have they could have come from the same country, they could be both women or both men. Each of their journeys are different. Somebody wants to pursue entrepreneurship, somebody wants to pursue family life, somebody wants to pursue further studies, someone else wants to take a pause. So for us, we believe that it is very easy when you throw out opportunities to everyone. It makes you think as an institution that you are doing the best for all. But eventually, we are all individuals. Each alumni is a different alumni with a different need at a particular time. And so part of those strategies and one of the things that we're now designing is how do we personalize, how do we tailor the journey of the alumni? Some alumni want mentorship. Some alumni want to be mentors. So if we throw out mentorship to everyone to say, yes, we just want all of you to be mentees, someone else will say, no, that's not what I want. I want to be a mentor, right? And so this is the critical part of things now that we are working on, and we are already building out, a few steps into that to say, how can we personalize the journey of each alumni? How do we meet them where they are? Right. Yes, you will not be able to engage 100% of the alumni because they have a different life right now. Um, compared to when they were in school. But yes, maybe the different things that you bring in helps them. But beyond helping them, it also helps us to be able to reach out to other potential students just like them to ensure that we continue to have that inclusiveness, we continue to have that equity that we need, and to ensure that we're not just thinking in one direction, but now through the help of the alumni and the other strategies that we're thinking about, we're able to really help everyone in that sense.
Wonderful, wonderful submissions there, Fash. If I heard you correctly, I think I really liked the point around personalized aims, taking the initiative to personalize alumni journeys and contextualizing the different programs and initiatives you have as an institution to the needs of the alumni which look very differently across board. I really like that point. I'm very curious to know if there are any further thoughts or reflections from any of us. I don't know if there are any questions about submissions from DeFi Head Now, and also aims about some of the strategies they use in their institutions to ensure that there is continuous inclusivity. There's a continuous learning and adoption, basically, in how they engage marginalized groups. Any thoughts, any reactions? Anything would do at this point. An emoji would still be fine, just to know that we still have you here with us. Sometimes it's very hard with the cameras off. It's very hard to know if people are listening. But yeah, I can see Kamini and Minda's microphone going off.
Thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Yvonne. I can see
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes, please.
I can see there. I can see we have a colleague from the Mastercard Foundation.
Yvonne, I can see reaction.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please. Yes.
You're on mute.
We can.
We can.
Yes, we can.
Okay. I can see that.
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
I can see we have a colleague from the Mastercard Foundation Scholars Program. Angèle is online. Angèle, are you there? Angèle? Or maybe not. Or anyone else? Any of our other colleagues? No. Okay. All right. Sorry. Continue. I mean, I think we have.
Yeah. No. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. we should have done a round of introduction, but I knew because of time, that would have been kind of tricky. But I'm happy that we are here now, and I don't see any reactions from the submissions of the second panel. And I want to believe that the message is home. And I think if we go back to what Marina said initially, that for engagement to be successful, there is a need for both parts of the engagement, conversations to work well. So you have the institutions, you have the aims, and many of institutions we're all affiliated with, but you also have the alumni. How do you bring these two parts together? And it takes two to tango. So that is my takeaway from this second panel, but also, personalization and contextualization of programs and initiatives. And happy to hear what your thoughts are. Please keep the conversation going. I think, I don't know if it's Atanas or Salome who would speak to the different handles that you could get more, platforms to engage with InHive and Nexus, and bring in your inputs, because it's really needed to continue improving the programs that are currently being developed. But seeing that we don't have any further, thoughts around that, please help me welcome back Kamini to share her final thoughts and wrap this conversation up. Yes.
Thank you so much, Danita. Firstly, I would like to thank our wonderful panelists for their really insightful feedback and some of the issues that they've raised, with practicable solutions in the context of what we're trying to do through the Basin program. I think it's been very valuable. I also want to thank my colleagues, Donita and Aisha, for organizing this webinar, which is not only timely, but I think it's, we need to sustain the momentum of the importance of these issues around gender equality, inequality, etc. My key takeaways are really coming back to the power of networks and, the current sort of mechanisms that we have in place and how we can optimize the usefulness and bringing about connections which speak to enhanced mentorship programs. Donita, you mentioned a body system. The fact that we have alumni, and Marina spoke from a very personal perspective around the fact that even many years later, if you find sometimes you need to connect with your peers. So, being mindful that once a member of an alumni network, you never stop becoming a member of your alumni network, but your needs change as priorities in life change, etc. I think it's very interesting that Fash, you had mentioned the fact that, when we speak to communities, marginalized communities and communities that feel sometimes that they are not being included in terms of having access to these scholarship programs, we have to really amplify the profile of institutions which are making a concerted effort to do that. So I've used the word in our latest trip with our other partner universities, symbiosis, there's a symbiotic relationship. Some of the institutions are looking at safeguarding policy development. So I come back to the fact that, we are trying to not just pay lip service to connecting alumni to the institutions, but actually providing a platform and providing a real process in which the alumni can feed into those institutional policies. And with colleagues like Marina and Sefako online, they are providing that training and that sort of insight into what the institution should be thinking about. I think for us, as primarily women on this call, Fash, I know that you are minority, but it also speaks to the fact that, economic opportunities, these are social barriers as well, and mindsets that have to be challenged. And we can do that through, as we've been talking about, lived experience. So some of our alumni and some of our mentors who've actually managed to navigate those challenges and why did they have to overcome these challenges? You know, what was the rationale behind that? So again, you know, advocacy has been mentioned. So this three-tiered approach looks at the connection between the alumni and the institution, and within the program itself, have the established processes that we have in place, where we can really feed into the broader strategies that the institutions are implementing. The fact that there has to be a level of advocacy and awareness, and then obviously lived experience from alumni who can come to the table and actually help support pipeline graduates, you know, into the real world. As Ngozi had mentioned, it's tough out there. So I think we've had a really interesting discussion. This is the first of many. You know, our intention is to run a series of webinars which address issues around leadership, empowerment, harassment, etc. And we'll keep you posted. But once again, thank you so much to our speakers. As ever, you've been incredibly engaging, and I really appreciate everybody's time and commitment, because I know we're working across different time zones right now. So thanks once again. Aisha, do you want to say something? Oh, no. Have we lost Anita?
All right, thank you.
Okay.
No, no, no.
Oh, you're there.
Here.
Okay,
Thank
sorry.
you. Thank you. Yes, yes. Thank you, Kamini, for those thoughtful words. I just wish everyone a wonderful day ahead. Yeah.
Thanks very
Thanks for
much.
making time.
And just to let everybody know, this will be available, the recording of the webinar, on our Nexus platform. So if anybody's interested or has missed parts of it, they can go to the Nexus platform and see the recording. Thanks,
Wonderful.
everyone.
Cheers, everyone.
Bye-bye. Have a good day.